starting this new time around, I think this was the new flag that came out. Nice positioning for green. It's their turn, but they built an extra scavenger and sent it heading this way because there were some money they could make off of salvage pieces, which they did. They're also sent. They built a second one to do that. They sent their first one out further to grab this one and bring it back towards the mothership. They set up a lot of their raiders, their piracy ships, to try to capture some of these harvesters from red. They didn't get the bonus off of that they would have. Right now they can't build more harvesters. They've got all their pieces on the board and then some, as it were. So they built some military ships. There's always the question of whether you want to buy these cards. Right now they don't feel like they're worth it. Looking at the cards, I haven't seen any that I would say are worth $8 worth of production. They didn't want to spend on repairs on these guys because, well, it's almost the cost to repair them that it would be to build new ones. And right now they have active, successful little agents in play with a lot of damage. It's not worth building them back up. There's no bonus to buying repairs of ships. It's better to leave damaged ships out on the board for the most part. Now you want it to keep cripples that are easily shot. So I had some injured harvesters. I wanted to remove them, the damage from them, because a fighter could, the F-1-3s could just basically knock them out with an almost assured chance. Otherwise I destroyed the one, was it two? I think it's just one fighter. This was here. From red, and now they're low on their capability. It might be a nice idea to destroy red from the game, but if I do that, I get rid of these harvesters, and they're actually kind of valuable to me with those pirate ships out there in terms of production. Red managed to use their scavenger to pull back the one white flag that they had, and they grabbed another one at the same time. They slid down, dropping it as they went, and came back and dropped another one. Now they're more of a target. They are the most exciting and enticing of all the motherships to grab, which makes this even more appealing for green. At the same time, they sent some of their fighters out and destroyed the bandits. That takes one of the big threats that green has out of the play. There's a lot of money sitting around in terms of scavenge value. Very worthwhile probably for green. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. Green can't really reach from where they are, but they can bring their one scavenger around. There's a lot of scavenge opportunity here for green and or red to play around in there and grab some money. Red's having trouble in using their warp against another player, this aggressive warp, which allows you to move enemy ships out of the way. They're having trouble remembering to use that for anything. They could fly some of those green ships out of their realm completely and force green to move elsewhere. The problem with that, well, the bandits it would have worked well on, but it wouldn't work too well on the F-1-3s because they're so fast. The F-3-5s only have that speed of 4 like everything else does, so sending that away would be valuable. The question is what to do with the others. Right now they could send... We can see what green produces on their turn because it's definitely something red should consider doing. Red's also increased their number of harvesters, and they're actually starting to use them. There's a little bit of blockage. There's room to be attacked down here, but it's going to be hard for someone to kill red all at once. Now the question, of course, becomes, okay, what if green doesn't kill them all at once? Do they still have the best chance at getting those flags? Or could blue or yellow come in and get a quick kill off them? Given the position things are in, that might be hard to do. Blue grabs themselves a couple more flags using their harvester here. They built another, or scavenger, they built another one, and geez, what did they run over? They ran over a couple of spaces. I think here and here maybe? No, it couldn't be the yellow one. That was still yellow. It must have been these two. or maybe these two, and grab themselves some extra bucks. Those extra bucks after the building of their warships, as well as another scavenger, is they got to fire their mothership, and they did some destruction both against warships and against Yellow's production capacity. Yellow's down to only one harvester left on the board, which is going to pull in $2. Of course, they get a die roll of money as well, which allows them to keep up the fight, probably put a warship out or whatever, or scavenge to be able to pay for attacks. But once you kind of fall behind in this, it's tough to get back on your feet. The only way you can do it is diplomatically. Now, that's one of the questions in this game. It's not clearly addressed whether or not it's expected that you should be able to perform table talk diplomacy of any kind. My feeling, I would always play that you could. That's the way I generally play games. But there's a lot of discussion on Board Game Geek about, hey, is what is not, permitted in the rules just denied? Well, this is clearly a game where I feel like diplomacy would make sense if it was, your, I don't know, Amoeba Wars type of game or whatever. But here it feels almost as though they're kind of taking away from the theme a little bit. So does it really belong? Maybe. I think the game would be better that way. So there would be this feeling between yellow and blue that maybe they should be discussing, hey, green is really kicking ass financially right now. They've got this huge productive advantage over the rest of us. Maybe we should take them down a notch. Maybe we should take them out. Nobody gets any huge bonus out of knocking them out of the game. They have one card, but otherwise they haven't brought any flags back or whatever. So even if we all gang up on them, that wouldn't be giving anyone a huge benefit. Well, blue isn't too receptive to that because they're up to 3 flags at this point, and they think they've got a shot. They feel like they're in a race with red for flags. The other players are trying to build up some kind of machine to win the game militarily, but it may be too late. It may be possible that some lucky flags come into play, and blue could just win, because once you're at 3 flags, you only need 2 more. Well, before their next turn, 2 more could show up near enough to them that they could grab them and bring them home to their mothership without any really high chance. It's not a terribly unlikely thing to have happen. Anyway, yellow's got a hard row to sow at this point. And again, they're the person who had to play second in that positioning. And, I haven't played the game. This is my first time, but immediately it begins to come to mind that, wow, being the second guy in a particular war is a real disadvantage in the game. And once that happens, maybe realizing that would allow for the game to be diplomatically more interesting. But I don't think the 2-player game would be terribly interesting, to tell you the truth. I think the first player is going to make the jump on the second player. Of course, maybe the board's big enough that being across from each other, you can kind of hide. The first player sets up his pieces forward, the second player sets up away, and now if the first player advances, it's the second player who gets the first strike in that advantage. So it might work out in 2. I can't guarantee that either way. But I know in this 4-player game, the 2 people who got attacked by people who went before them really came out at a disadvantage, it looks like. And as the final player of the round, yellow, well, they got a cube near them, but they ignored it. They know they're not going to win on cubes very easily at this point unless they wipe out blue and grab his cubes or something. So they're fighting for their economic position here. Well, the way they did that, they used their scavenger to sweep up a lot of cash. They pulled in, I think, $5-6. $1, $2, $3, $4, $5 in cash very quickly off of cleaning up some of the garbage. They built themselves a bandit for a high-risk attack on this blue, heavier ship. That's one of the F-35's. Very valuable capture if they could get it. basically that could swing the war. So, you know, a lucky shot, even if the odds are against you, it's not like you're completely out of it no matter what. They didn't go for additional production capabilities. What they went for instead was attacking Blue's production. And they've knocked Blue down to just about as bad a position. Blue's got 2 producing units instead of 1 for Yellow. But they're both damaged and, well, they're strikeable. So, you know, if dice for the income bonus go well for Yellow, they could end up in the lead here and have a good shot at being able to eventually take out that mothership and get those 3 flags, which would put them in a powerful position. This is what happens when Blue didn't, you know, agree to whatever Yellow's sort of diplomatic overtures were to go after Green. But, you know, Blue thought they have a shot, and they still think they do, of winning the race for the flags, whether or not they win the economic battle overall. Green right now has no flags. The best they can do is maybe get these couple red ones and a couple from around here, but there doesn't appear to be that. And we're running low on flags. That's another factor in this game. There's no real time limit per se in the game, but there is a limited number of resources, and once they're all out, it becomes easier to win. And once you knock people out, there's less places for the flags to be sitting, so these will fill out more quickly. So it's going to be a fairly fast game, it looks like. So I move into this, which I believe is the 4th time around. I see there are 2 flags left. I count the flags, and there's supposed to be 12 in play. That means 2 players didn't roll for flags. 2 times I didn't roll for flags during that period. That's... How damaging is it? Well, I don't think it's to the level of forgetting to take your turn, but it is a step that I could see some groups, not just me playing solo. We used to have a player who would quite often forget to do something along those lines, not doing so. I'm going to continue to run with it. I don't think it's a terrible factor. You're giving up an advantage on your own turn if you fail to do it. And hey, if other people get that advantage, that's fine. We want to get all the flags out, and there's not really any other fix to take in this situation. You forgot it, it's your fault. Alright, so on with Green's turn, and they get a bonus flag that they wouldn't normally get. Not too big a bonus, though. It ended up way away from them. But, you know, Red gets a flag roll that they wouldn't get, and this showed up in their general area. So, overall, somebody gets a bonus off of it. I don't think it's a huge factor, though. Greens position themselves to launch a massive attack on Red's mothership. Dangerous or not, this is kind of weird, because they're going to have 2 light ships. Now, those guys can do a maximum of 3 points each, so that's 6. They've got a heavy ship that can fire in there. That can fire another 5. They're up to 11. They could conceivably capture this. It's a normal light ship. That's another 3. They're up to 14. This guy couldn't get in. If he could, they'd be in good shape. 14, then they've got a shot from their mothership, which they collected the money using their scavengers. They're also sending scavengers that you can see they grabbed 2 flags. Those scavengers can give them, or that mothership can give them another 7. So conceivably they could do the 20 hits required to hit this. It's very, very unlikely. I would say near impossible. So they may not want to launch those attacks in quite that way that they set themselves up for. We'll see, for example, what happens here. Maybe after a certain number of attacks, I'll stop attacking Red and swing over to okay, maybe destroy some of their productive capability instead. However, what if they do attack largely and fail? Well, then Blue is sitting on 3 white cubes, and they could hit, conceivably, a Red mothership if it's in an exposed location. That's a definite concern. Red probably won't be too worried about protecting their ship by buying off losses to it, because they're at a disadvantage right now. They may go for a coup de main against the blue ship here, if they can maybe cope together the points with it. They forgot to use their warp systems again, but I don't know how much help it really would be. I think it's more valuable maybe stripping away defenses from a ship. We'll see. All right. One thing I do want to notice, that things get bigger as the forces get larger. At least for my little brain, it's tough to remember what I've moved and not, what I've fired and not. It begins to get to the point where you might want to consider having a pool of chits and marking, you know, which ships have acted already, because there's no mechanism in the game, and it's with hexagonal pieces, it's not terribly easy to just rotate them like this. With squares, that's always an easier factor, at least especially on smaller hexes. So you may want to add some additional little chits just to mark, hey, I used this ship this action phase, either the movement or the combat. And the net effect of those attacks was not good. The marauders, bandits, whatever, failed here. So I had to shoot in and hit it with the big ship. Now I still got the money. I could launch a major attack from these guys for $4, but there isn't much to hit. There's no warships. Oh wait, there's one here. Is picking that guy off worthwhile? Is picking economic terms worthwhile? Economics, definitely not. This warship, probably not. I'm not going to spend the $4. I'm going to hold on to it. He might end up knocking out more than $4 of my stuff, but I think that's unlikely. The attacks launched here resulted in 1 point against a scavenger, which is essentially meaningless. This guy did destroy this thing, though. That's the one hit that was kind of successful. All right, that puts us over to red. Well, red's position here is kind of exciting. They have a good collection of money, some $16. I'm looking at, can I kill blue? Basically, how much firepower can I get on that blue ship? Because I've got these warp things I can get into the space. I've only got one warship right now. That ship can do a maximum of 3 points of damage. $12, or $16. That would allow me to buy 4 F-13s. That could do 12, bring me up to 15, 22 with the big ship. I could conceivably blow them out of the water. I know the chances are almost nothing. So it's just a little short. On top of that, I would have to figure out a way to get this guy to capture 4 credits, because I'd be using up all my cash. Now, there isn't a lot of junk lying around. I could jump him over here though, 1, 2, 3, and manage to capture only $3. Not quite enough. So it looks like I'm not going to have a chance to win the game on this move. That means I have to build and attack green, however that means. But, and basically it's hoping for a better position next turn for red. They've shifted a little back, hoping that they're not going to come under attack for a win type situation next turn. They sent their scavenger out, grabbed a little bit extra money. They're not too worried about that. Knocked out a green harvester and also knocked out one of the bandits. They wanted to knock both the bandits out because they're a risk, because they built heavy ships. Heavy ships, why? More firepower in place, maybe against green, or with their warp ability to jump in, because they can build a bunch of light ships and get more firepower. They're playing for, maybe I can win next turn, not this turn. Now blue has to think, can they get a fair shot at winning? Because there's 2 people sitting out there with enough cubes. It's unlikely their focus is over here against yellow, where there are no cubes for flags. Push is really coming to shove here. Blue got a very crappy roll for their money. They only got $1 from the random money, and they only have 2 of these harvesters in place, pulling in 4 more bucks, so they have $5. Their card doesn't help them. It's that repair card. It's really kind of lousy for them. I look at the money they have. Now they can use their salvager to actually pull in 3 more bucks, so that would give them another $4. That's another attack. That could be an attack from their command ship. But all they could do is get these 2 and 1 more built light ships into play. This heavy ship, 1, 2, 3, 4, could fire on the mothership if I could get this sucker out of the way. But I can't get that out of the way. I don't have a salvage ship in place to do so. Let's say I had 3 light ships and I could get them here, here, and here, because this guy could fly away, say, up to here where he can make money still. If I could get 3 light ships in play, and I believe I could, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, another one here, and another one in here, then I would have a maximum firepower of 12 from that, plus 7 from this. Impossible to actually knock red out, so I don't want to go for that. And I'm not going to do any better against green, I don't think, although I do have a pure shot on him from my heavy ship, which means I could do more damage to him. But if I move to here, the furthest I can get there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I can't get a shot in on green. Wiping yellow out of the game would solve some of my problems, but again, my chances aren't terribly good, although I would have all my ships firing on that yellow one. So I think I have to keep fighting and maybe picking up additional stuff. What about another option? I've got one of these. What if I got another one? I have another here. 1, 2, 3, 4. See, I could build a salvage ship here. 1, 2, pick it up. 3, hand it off. Okay, that's gotten me 1. I need 1 more. If I move to here, I can't get close enough to get that 5th flag. So, an all flags version, worthwhile? Maybe. I may go for a 4th flag and then be in a position where I can grab that 5th one more easily. I gotta think about this. And blue concentrated their firepower on wiping out yellow's navy. Yellow's left with one combat capable ship, a scavenger, and they have very little. Oh, there's another combat capable ship floating around down there. They have a little bit of productive capability. They have 1 harvester back here, but for the most part, yellow is pretty much knocked out. They're not going to be able to do what I feared, which was maybe have enough capital. They still have the scavenger, which could grab them some money for an attack, to maybe be able to grab this cube or another cube and take out the blue ship. Because the blue ship is enough for anybody to win if they have 1 cube, but yellow does not have a cube. Blue is looking like they're progressing very slowly. They've grabbed this last cube. They can't get it. Oh yes, they can. Next turn, they can get into play and they win. So there's almost a time limit here now at this point. If blue does not get stopped, or if somebody else doesn't win, blue will win the game. Now, somebody else winning probably means taking out the blue mothership. So finishing up the 4th round, and I could have split this into 2 videos. I was hoping it would all end up shorter, but with me, and this is exploring an interesting new game, really. What does yellow decide to do in this position? Well, they decide to hammer blue with its 4 flags in the hope that somebody else attacks blue and fails. Doesn't get the victory, doesn't kill them, but leaves a cripple in place. This is a really weird and risky situation, but yellow's the one guy who has no cubes yet. He's the guy who had to take a chance. He may have overdone it. He managed to do 11. That's what black and blue means. Black is 10. I had to look that up, of course. Couldn't. There's a couple of component decisions in this game that definitely have caused some issues, and the cubes are, I think, really problematic. But anyway, I fired these 2. Swept the scavenger around to grab enough money to get other stuff. Actually built myself another harvester because I'm going to need cash for next turn to make the attack. After firing these 2, I had a decent amount of hits. I probably should have left it go right there. I had 4 hits on them. That's not a huge amount. That would have been that would have been more valuable, more likely that I get my way, that somebody else attacks blue. At this point, with 11 hits on them, and blue going just before me, chances are really, really low that I'm going to get this. But I've taken my revenge on the guy who's pissed me off all game, at the very least, as yellow, and done enough damage to him that I don't think he can possibly win. In fact, I think he's going to get knocked out. But it isn't going to get yellow the win, whereas the 4 hits might have. Ah, well. All right, up this one goes, and I would guess next round's going to be the last one unless something weird happens. Just as a real quickie, that's the revenge for that guy went first, right? Blue went right before him, which meant they could make the attacks on him. It gives them that positional advantage. Well, yellow has the positional advantage, if you can call it that, of being able to say, yeah, okay, but I'm going to knock you out of the game. I'm going to make you a target and everybody else can hit you. I don't like that. I mean, I just think that the nature of how these are going to flow out may not work too well. All right.